Hey, what's going on? I go by the name Shar Abates, also known as Malcolm Luther Queen, and you are here for an exclusive My Go to Hip Hop News interview with Mrs. Angel Gaines-Dingle, who is running for District 1 of South Fulton. How are you today?
I'm good. Shar, how are you?
I'm doing amazing. Happy to get you out here and find out what's going on. I need the people to know who you are. I need them to know more about you and why you're running. And this is for the supporters, the naysayers, the haters, and the future residents that will be in her district, that are in her district. So a lot of people don't know who is Angel Gaines-Dingle. So tell me, where are you from originally?
Originally, I'm from Orlando, Florida. That's
Okay.
where my mom is from, my dad is from, and that's where I was raised until about second grade.
Okay.
And my mom relocated to Virginia, where she ended up getting married and meeting a guy in the military, and we stayed there until he got stationed in Italy when I was 16. So just imagine being up and rooted at 16 years old.
That's real different from Florida to Virginia, which a lot of people don't know. And I don't know what part you were in, but Virginia is definitely one of the most racist states. I don't know what part
I was in the 757, the 7 cities, Norfolk,
Okay.
Portsmouth, Virginia Beach,
Okay.
Chesapeake, Suffolk. I was in that area.
Nice.
Yes.
How was that?
I really enjoyed it. It was a lot going on in my teenage years. We'll get into that later. And that's what ended up getting me involved with the youth, is because of the things that I did in my youth. So, yeah, Virginia was very, very interesting place to live. Where I lived, it was more diverse because it was a military area. So you had black and whites married and dating and stuff like that. So that part wasn't the racist part, but like West Virginia, Danville, and deep Suffolk, that was. But where I was at, it was pretty much everybody was loving on everybody.
And was that typical outside of the place where you were in?
Yeah, that was typical. Everybody that knows the Virginia area knows that Norfolk is one big area. They say it's like one big project because all the projects was in that area. Virginia Beach was known for like the uppity area. And that's why I went to middle and high school. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my high school years in Virginia.
Okay. How was your upbringing? What type of kid were you?
I was really quiet and laid back. I lived in a neighborhood called Salem Lakes.
Okay.
And a lot of the people called me a hermit because I was always in the house. I didn't really talk to many people. And I moved out there my middle school year. I was in the 7th grade when I first moved to Virginia Beach. So I came from Norfolk. And coming from Norfolk to Virginia Beach was a dramatic change. And so...
because you went from, was it a predominantly
It was predominantly black area, yes.
To a very mixed area?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So it was a culture change for me. When I got there, we stayed in a mixed neighborhood, which I was used to living around all of my people. So when we moved to Virginia Beach, we moved to an area where it was mixture, and I didn't know anybody. And of course, growing up in middle school, moving from one school to the next, everybody always have their friends. Their friends they grew up with since elementary school. They all stayed in the same neighborhood together. So when the new girl came in, it's like, oh, who is she? Where's she from? Or whatever.
Is that a challenge for you?
Not so much of a challenge because I pretty much stayed to myself when I first got there. But when I got to high school is when I kind of like came out of my little shell.
Okay.
When I came out of my shell.
And so during high school, would you say that you were still like calm and quiet? Or did things kind of change for you?
Things kind of changed just a little bit. My high school years, in the beginning, I was really quiet and laid back. But then, of course, I started meeting people and, going out.
A little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, I got a little bit more comfortable.
Okay.
And that's when my little trouble started as a youth. And I think that's why I'm so passionate now about helping the youth when I became an adult, because I know what I went through and what I did and the struggles and how people looked at me. And I don't want people to look at the kids that's in the juvenile system per se in a negative light, because things happen. All kids that are in there are not bad kids. Things just happen. And I was just one of those kids that was hanging with the wrong group of people at the time. and started doing things I shouldn't have been doing, and ended up myself in juvenile and ended up on house arrest. I was that kid as a teenager. As I became an adult, when I got older, I realized that I'm glad God brought me through that as a teenager and not allowed me to go through that as an adult. So I knew what not to do when I became an adult at the age of 18.
What would you say was one of the biggest situations that you faced that allows you to connect with them?
There was a situation where I was facing 3 years as a juvenile. And the judge told my mother, you can leave her here, because it was getting ready to go overseas to Italy, and everybody knows military do a 3-year tour overseas. And so the judge told my mother, you can leave her here for 3 years, or you can take a chance and take her with you. And that moment, I woke up. I said, I can't do this. I can't be this person. And the things I was doing, I was taking vehicles that didn't belong to me. And that was one of my biggest things. I was a fighter. I got into several fights my high school year, and they nicknamed me Tyson because of that. But
she had them hands though.
But I had to, after that situation, and the judge told my mom that I had to realize, Angel, you weren't brought up like this. Why are you doing this? So I did change, and when I changed, I lost friends. I lost people that know me to be this girl that would do anything. But I had to change my ways. But one thing I did not do, no matter what I did, I stayed in school. I went to school every single day. That's one thing I did not miss out on. If I did not come home that night, my mother knew she can come to that school that next day, and I was there. Education has always been important to me, so I definitely went to school every day. No questions asked about that. So as I became an adult, I realized that these kids in juvenile, everybody is not bad.
No,
everybody is not bad. Everybody don't come from a broken home. My mom was married, so it was 2 parents in the household.
And I'm glad that you said that, because that's something that I've spoke on recently. I came from a 2-parent household, but I was also in a beautiful hell.
Yeah.
And so people are like, oh, 2-parent household, 2-parent household. Yeah, but if 1 or 2 of these parents is causing trauma, then it's kind of defeating the purpose. What was that turning point thing that kind of made you go a different route?
I grew up in the suburbs, and I used to go to hang out at the skating ring. It was a skating ring in Virginia Beach called College Park Skating Ring.
Oh, it's a College Park somewhere else.
College Park somewhere else. And I used to go to the skating ring, and I met up with some friends, and they knew these guys that was from Diggs Park, which was the projects in Norfolk. And all of us started hanging together, and they used to steal cars. And I just started hanging with the wrong people and thought that was cool what they were doing, and started doing it with them. I will say that even though I was out there doing those things, not once did I do drugs, not once did I drink alcohol. I didn't do any of that stuff.
So you can not do it.
It's possible. It is possible.
You can not do these things.
Yes, it is possible.
Continue.
I did not drink. I did not smoke. It was just, I just wanted to be doing what they were doing because I thought it was cool.
Did you feel like included or part of a family or something that you didn't have prior?
Somewhat I did, because it was like a crew, and we all hung together. We did everything together. There was this one time that I was not home, and my mom came looking for me, and I was staying at a friend's house. And my mom knew I was there. She just knew it. So she came there, and she asked a friend, where was I at? My friend was like, I don't know, I haven't seen Angel. She went around the neighborhood helping my mom look for me, and I'm in her house. So we were a crew.
I just gotta say that was some real stuff right there. That's a writer, okay?
Yeah, we were a crew. We were.
What your mom said when she found out?
She was like, I knew you was in that house, and she was riding my car to myself, Mama, I don't know where she at. So yeah, we had a crew of us that hung out together, and because I did not have any siblings my age and I didn't have any cousins, they were like my family. My sister is 11 years, it's 11-year age difference.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, that's a big difference. So, and I didn't have any cousins, of course, because all my family is in Orlando. So, yeah, they were like my extended family. My play cousins, we called each other cousins, brothers and sisters. So yeah, that was my family.
How was it going from being a part of this, crowd that was running the streets to going to Italy? And what part did you go to? How was this transition?
I was in Naples, Italy. They call it Napoli.
Wow.
I was 16. When we got to the airport, I was hyperventilating because I was crying dramatically. I did not want to leave the States. I had known these friends of mine since like second and third grade. So my mom then is up en route recruiting me to a whole nother country. So we get to Italy and it's totally different. It was a 6-hour time difference. The food was different. The people were different.
Wasn't the food better though?
It was authentic. It was very authentic.
But when you used to pizza and different stuff, you're not really trying to.
Yeah, it was very authentic. When I got there, we got there during the summer, July of '96. So when I got there, my plan was to do something so I could get back home. And I used to call all my friends, not knowing how much it cost for me to call. I used to call my friends and talk on the phone.
This back in the day when it was charging you per minute.
They were charging. And so that didn't work. So my mom was like, take your sister to the movies and this, that, and the other. The hotel we stayed in, the Fountain Blue is what's the name of the hotel. Mm-hmm. They had a movie theater inside of the hotel. So they had a movie theater, a pool hall, a bar area where the adults can go, restaurants. It was really nice for the Americans that was coming in before they found housing. And I ended up going to the movies and I ended up meeting some friends. And me and those friends, Amisha and Rachel, we're still friends to this day. Nice. And I met them there. And then me and Rachel started going out to the parties and stuff like that. And I turned over a whole new leaf. My sister would say I went from a tomboy to a pretty girl. Because I started wearing dresses, I started wearing heels.
Like, I was getting about that. It was about time.
I started being the girly girl. So we got over there and we started going to the parties, and lo and behold, my then boyfriend, which is my now husband, I met him over there. Okay. And he was throwing all the parties. Oh. So once I met him, life just settled. Like I just stopped doing everything. We didn't go out, I didn't club anymore. And again, I still did not drink and smoke when I was in Italy. I was still the good girl. So it was a different vibe. It was a whole different vibe and a different atmosphere. If I could go back now to go there again to visit, I would definitely take all of my kids and go back to let them see where my teenage years started. And my daughter was conceived there, and she's 25 now.
What was your favorite food?
The linguine and shrimp was really, really good, and that was the first time I ate octopus, and I've loved it ever since.
You like octopus, bro?
I think that's when my palate opened up to other foods. So that's when I started eating different types of food, and I really did love it. It was good.
How old were you when you had your first child?
I had her I moved back to the States once I turned 18. Okay. I had to wait till I turned 18 and graduate before I was able to actually move and leave Italy without my parents. Mm-hmm. So I left Italy and moved straight to Atlanta at 18 and pregnant.
So you and your then boyfriend?
Yes. He was already here. He had got this apartment, got a car.
Of course he did.
So I left when I was 18, and I think I was 5 or 6 months pregnant, and moved to Atlanta with no family, putting all my trust in him, and made that jump.
Okay. So how was that transitioning back to the original country that you're from, but in a different city, pregnant, and with a new man? It
wasn't as difficult as I thought it was going to be. He made it a lot easy for me because I didn't have to work. I didn't have to do anything. He provided literally everything. So it made it easy for me. When it was time to deliver our daughter, I actually had her in South Carolina at Shar Air Force Base, and he made it easy. I worked after I had her when she was like 4 months old. But I didn't have to, but I did it because I wanted to. I wanted to get out the house and meet people and stuff. So it was a big transition because my parents was overseas in Italy. His parents were still overseas in Italy. So, but he still had family here. He had cousins here. So we had a little support from them. So, but it was pretty much welcome to Atlanta.
And so what was that? What year was that when you came
back? That was in '98.
You said that you went out and you started working, what kind of work did you do starting off?
My first job I had after I had my daughter, when we moved back to Atlanta, was at a warehouse off of Foot Industrial. And I was at that warehouse for maybe 2 weeks, and I realized this isn't my life. This isn't what I want to do. I want to do something more. So I ended up getting a job with Jackson Hewitt off of MLK. That was my first, pretty much like so to speak, office job. And then I ended up meeting this lady that worked for a temp agency that hired you for office positions. And I knew that I wanted to do something more than just working in the warehouse. I knew, and I'm not knocking anybody that does it, it just wasn't my plan for my life. And so I ended up working at Coca-Cola for a short time. I worked in the tax department. I worked there for, I think it was like a 6-week job. At that point, that's when my fiance's parents opened up a church. They had left Italy and moved to Oklahoma. They opened up a church and they needed help getting the church started. And we ended up leaving Atlanta and moving there and helping them. And I think that's when the light bulb went off in my head that it's more to life than what I've been seeing and what I've been doing. So once we got there, I got into the church very, very heavily, like super heavily. Like I played the drums. I was a Sunday school teacher. I was praise and worship leader.
Drums.
Yes, I played the drums, and I still know how to do it today. I was a church secretary. I ended up getting a job working at a bank, and I worked in the the credit card department, and I ended up getting promoted as a supervisor. And that's when I realized, Angel, you can do this. There's more for you to do. And as my kids got older, I realized the part of Oklahoma we were in was in Lawton, Oklahoma. It was very racist, like very racist. The first time I got called out of my name, I told my fiance at the time, I gotta leave. We gotta get back to Atlanta. I can't raise my kids around this. I gotta get them around where they can see black people are thriving and making it and surviving. And so he was like, say less. And we moved back to Atlanta in 2006.
All right, so you've experienced a lot of different cultures
Yes.
and ethnicities and different people's background. How do you feel like that prepares you for office?
That just lets me know that you can go into any atmosphere and you can adapt. You can adapt. When you're in corporate America and you supposed to, and this is what I used to tell people all the time, it's okay for you to be hood. It's okay for you to be this certain particular way when you're at home.
Yeah.
But when you get in a certain environment, you have to know how to change it to fit that environment. Not saying that you're being fake or you're being somebody that you're not. It's just you know how to adapt to your surroundings. And I think with me, the upbringing that I had, that has helped me to be able to adapt to wherever I'm at.
Absolutely, I can definitely understand. Alrighty, so we done went from Napoli, you know what I'm saying, to Virginia Beach. You done had the baby in the Carolina. You done went to ATL. You went to, did you say Oklahoma?
Oklahoma.
So random. How did you get back in the ATL?
There was a situation where I was called out of my name. I was called a nigga, and by a white person, and that was my first time ever being called that by a white person. So I went back to work the next day, and I told one of my coworkers, I said, I can't believe that this guy called me a nigga. Da, 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 da. She was like, welcome to Oklahoma.
That's not the response.
I was like, wait a minute. I said, I'm going back to Atlanta. I said, I can't do this. I said, I don't want to raise my kids.
Oh, so
here.
They were very comfortable.
They were
with the disrespect.
Yes, because they
Yeah,
had
we're not comfortable
yeah,
with the
we don't do that.
disrespect.
Yeah, we don't do that. That was something they were accustomed to. I was not accustomed to that because growing up in Virginia, like I said, it was a diversity area. And then coming to Atlanta, there was none of that. And so I was like, I can't do this. My son started playing football. And I told my husband, I said, I don't want my son to be their token kid.
Because that's definitely what he was set up to be.
That's what he was going to be set up to be, because he was playing for the YMCA and they was already out there saying, oh my God, you see the little boy right there with the bow legs running that ball? And I was like, we got to get back to Atlanta. So we moved back to Atlanta and we ended up moving on MLK, and known as the SWAT Zone 4. We ended up moving on MLK, and the name of the townhouse we stayed in at the time was called Winter Square. They've changed the name several times. and we stayed out there. Killer Mike was one of my neighbors. Me and him used to ride the MARTA bus in the train station.
Oh, so that's like a day one.
Yeah, downtown, and we worked right across. I worked for Ivan Allen, and he worked, I don't know where he worked at, but he worked somewhere where Peachtree Mall is at, where Hooters and all that, because I would see him.
By 200
Yeah, so I would see him randomly throughout the week.
So y'all was on the struggle.
Yeah.
So y'all was on the struggle bus together.
Yes.
Okay.
And the mother, his kids, 2 older kids, she did my hair.
Okay.
And she's been my hairdresser forever. I still call her every now and then to get certain things done.
That's dope.
But yeah, so we ended up moving out there, and life just became what it was for us here in Atlanta. My son, of course, continued to play football, and I got deemed a football mom because I was at every practice. I sat there and waited for him to get finished.
Practice? During the practice?
During the practice, I sat
I'm
there.
more of an athlete type, you know.
At Collier Park, Coach Mark was his coach at the time, and I sat at every practice, and I got deemed a football mom. And so all the little kids started calling me Mama Dingle.
Okay.
Yeah, they started calling me Mama Dingle because they knew they could come to me about anything. When we had trips and had to travel, me and my husband would put the kids in the car with us, and we would take them if they didn't have transportation. I was picking kids up for practice because I felt like if I picked them up for practice, they could stay out of trouble. Because I knew they were at the park, and I knew they was doing something positive.
So you were already being the community mom. So what was like the first thing that you did in the community that you didn't think it was a big deal until you seen the change?
I would have to say my son's friends, being that safe haven house for them, being that household that they could come to and stay with us, wake up and go to church with us, eat with us, and know that they were safe. I've had police officers come to my home because their parents have called the cops and reported them as a runaway. So I would call the parents and say, hey, they're here. And they would send the cops to my home because I would give them my address, and I would let the cops know, hey, they're here. I talked to the parent know that they're here, they're staying here. And I think that was the moment I realized that I was being trusted in my community because the police did not take them out. And at that moment, I knew that I was being trusted in the community, not only with the children, but with their parents as well.
Yeah, because that's a big deal. What was that thing for you where you was like, all right, I'm ready to take it to another level. Like, let me step this thing up. What was that moment for you?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I had the chance to attend Dr. Mark Baker's campaign fundraiser dinner.
Okay.
And he was running for Congress. And when I went to that dinner, I think a light bulb went off. It was like, Angel, I can see you doing this. I can see this is something that you would like to do. And what I did was I went home and did a lot of research about political stuff. It was a text message, and all I saw was, what is your address? And it was a sister friend, so I sent the address with no problem. And then I went back, I said, why she need my address? So I opened the whole text again, and it said, the city of South Fulton, these council seats are up in 2024. Election is 2023. And I looked at my address, went on the state website, and saw what district I was in, and I was like, oh my God, I'm in District 1, and that's one of the seats that is coming up. And at that moment, I started thinking back to all the things that I've done. I started thinking back to Damian Bailey. He used to work for, I think he still works for Teach for America, but I think he's in a higher position, maybe a director or something, but he's in Birmingham now. And I thought about how he reached out to me to speak to up-and-coming teachers about how to teach kids in the urban community. Now, mind you, I don't have a college degree in education, but I know the kids in the community. So I know what they expect and what they look for and how they feel safe, because he knew that my home was a safe haven home. I thought back to that. I went back to the athletic director at Thurl High School reaching out to me saying, hey, we need to hire a new head football coach. We know that you know these boys. Can you come in and sit on the panel?
Wait a second. Because, men don't be letting us in their football business, So
Exactly.
your opinion was that valued,
Yes.
that they asked you to help them pick the football coach?
A head football coach, yes, for Thurl High School. That's right.
Did it work out?
It was. And you know what? I picked this football coach, and they laughed at me, and they was like, "Oh, Miss Dingle gonna be running around here saying I picked the bald-headed man," and da 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 da. And I so happened to pick Coach Sullivan. Was one of the best coaches I could have picked out of the group that we had to interview. When Coach Sullivan got there, he told us what he can do, and he delivered. My son ended up getting a D1 scholarship at it's an Ivy League college in New York. After my son got his scholarship, more kids after him started coming. Now, mind you, before that, no college was coming to there to look at these boys to play football. None. So the fact that I had an input on who the head football coach should be, and the fact that he lived up to what he said he was going to do,
I
had a good judge of character. I went back, I started thinking about all of that stuff before I decided to see if I wanted to run for council.
So you opened up many doors,
Yes.
Just by that one move. What was something else where your input was valued to the point where you were able to make change?
I would have to say that the principal at the time at Farrell, Miss Powell, she's now the assistant superintendent for the North.
I know
cluster.
her.
Yeah, Miss Shelley Powell. I would have to say there was a situation with one of the softball coaches at the school, and she got my input on how I felt about that coach. And of course, I've always been known to have a really good judge of character. And come to find out, everything that I was saying was right. And she used what I had to say about that coach, and it made an impact on the girls that were on the softball team, because they felt like they was being discriminated against because of they weren't quote unquote lesbian or gay. And so I feel like her listening to me, not only myself but other parents' concerns, helped the girls and the young girls that was playing softball at the time.
Okay. And what about a situation maybe where you were able to have input or be a part of like a panel of making decisions on?
I actually sat on the board to help hire a principal. The principal that I wanted to select was out of Memphis, Tennessee. The principal that some of the other interviewers wanted to select was out of Atlanta. And the guy that I wanted out of Memphis, I felt like he would come in because he was coming into an urban school. And coming from Memphis, where he was coming from, I knew he could make a change within that school district. And lo and behold, the principal that I did not want to be the principal ended up getting hired for the job and ended up getting fired for that same job. That situation, I remember it like it was yesterday, because we had to score them on a scorecard. So when I handed the lady from APS my scorecard, she looked at me and she was like, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah, I just didn't too much like him," even though he was the intern principal at the time. But I knew his character, and I knew he wasn't good for the school at that moment.
So you said that the guy that you did not choose got into the position, got fired.
Yes.
And so that was a missed opportunity.
Yes.
Just through sheer volunteering and just your love and passion for your kids and the community and other children, you built up a pretty good amount of trust with the school system, and that's not an easy feat.
No, it's not.
So why would you say that you are qualified for this position?
Okay, I would say that I'm qualified for the position due to the simple fact that not only do I have a great judge of character, but also the fact that I am a community person that actually listens. I don't listen to respond, I listen to hear. And that's a big difference. I'm very big on communication. That's like one of my biggest things is I'm big on communication. And I feel like if the residents and the constituents of your district vote you in, you owe it to them to be honest and keep them informed of what's going on. And I see a lot of that is not happening right now within the city of South Fulton. I see a lot of egos. I see a lot of people want to do things the way they want to do it, but they're not listening to the residents. They're not sitting aside time. They're having these meetings, but they're having meetings to bring people in, to talk to them, but they're not having meetings to say, okay, let's sit down and get to the meat and potatoes. What's really going on? What is the problem? Where do you see that we can make a change? And that's not happening right now. They're so big on, let's get this person out, let's fire this person. they've been through too many city managers. They in the process of right now going through a lawsuit. Why this couldn't have been worked out behind closed doors. And so I feel like with my knowledge of being able to, not just with the youth, with the older generation as well, they just want somebody to sit down and listen to them. I did hear that the city of South Fulton had a chat at one point, and the chat has been taken away, so the constituents and residents cannot respond. My goal is to get that chat back open for them so that they do have a voice. I've been to a couple of the town hall meetings, and all I hear is the leaders talking, but the residents are not saying anything. They're just feeding them information, but they're not allowing them to voice their opinion at those town halls. If you got constituents and residents that are sending you emails, and you got a legislative assistant that's supposed to be helping you with this, why not, when you have your town halls, why not take those questions and concerns and have it an open conversation at your meetings, instead of just not even responding at all? So that's what I plan on bringing: my commitment, my determination, my integrity, my character, my respect. I'm planning on bringing that all to the city of South Fulton. And it's worked for me thus far, so I'm pretty sure it worked for me farther down the road.
So what are your top initiatives that you want people to know? What are some things some changes that you plan to implement that may be important to some of the people watching or in South Fulton?
The changes that I want to bring is the real economic development. I want to focus on bringing more jobs to the city of South Fulton. We do have a lot of warehouses in the city of South Fulton, and it's not just about District 1, which is my district. It's about District 1 through District 7. We need to focus on the task at hand is helping everybody in all the districts. We need to get these people jobs. We need to bring jobs in. We have a lot of warehouses in the city of South Fulton. There's no reason for them to be hiring, and nobody is like having real career fairs for them to come in and apply for these jobs and get hired. The next thing I really want to focus on is public safety. Recently, a couple months ago, the mom was there at the Guns Down event. Her son got shot in the head at Camelot, and a lot of people are blaming the parents. And I just want this world and the city to know that it's not always the parents' fault when things happen to these children. So we need to figure out a way to bridge that gap to where the public safety, we can have information out for the parents that are working 2 and 3 jobs and don't have time to sit at home with their kids. How can we bridge that to bring them to a point to where they can say, okay, this is what's going on with my kids. I want to be able to open up these parks and get programs in these parks, get mentorships in these parks and these rec centers, not just at Sandtown Park, which is in my district, but at Welcome Park, at Burnett Park, like all the parks within the city of South Fulton. I want to be able to get programs in there so that the parents can have workshops that help them raise their kids as well. And not just for them to go there to play basketball, to play football, to play softball, baseball, but to have resources for these parents and resources for these kids. So that will be my main focus. And I think once that is done and that trust is built with these parents, they'll start trusting the city a lot more.
I mean, drops mic, that was a whole bar right there, And so, first off, thank you so much.
Thank you, Shar, for doing this.
Absolutely,
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to the watch party moment when they announce. we manifesting over here.
We manifested
I'm looking forward to the announcement and the ticker that Mrs. Angel Gaines-Dingle has won. Please let them know where they can find you, where they can follow you, where they can support you.
You can actually find me on Instagram. It's Angel Gaines-Dingle, and it's ANGELGAINESDINGLE. On IG, you can also find me on Twitter at My Life As I Stand. You can also find me on Facebook, and my Facebook page is going to be Angel Gaines-Dingle for City Council for District 1 for the City of South Fulton. Also, my website is voteforangelgainesdingle.com. You can find me there. You can follow me actually on Nextdoor as well. If you are in the South Fulton area, I'm under Angel Dingle. So, and I'm in Enid Pines. So yeah, just reach out to me if you got any questions, any concerns that you want to bring to my attention. Just reach out to me and I'll be gladly to do as much as I can at this moment to help you with your concerns.
Y'all heard it here first. We're live on Abates Hip Hop News. Real news from a hip hop perspective. No sugarcoating, no code switching, just straight real. We ain't Democrat, we not Republican. Our vote is hip hop. I go with the name Shar. Thank y'all so much for tuning in.
Thank you.